I used to believe that family meant everything. Growing up, my sister Madison and I shared everything from secrets to dreams about our futures. When she called me crying 3 months ago, begging for a place to stay with her 6-year-old son Tyler, I did not hesitate. I thought opening my home to them would bring us closer together. I thought I was doing the right thing. But sometimes blood does not guarantee loyalty. Little did I know that my kindness would become my biggest mistake. Before I share what happened next, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below. Do not forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life stories. Trust me, you will not believe how this family drama unfolds. My name is Penelope, and at 28, I thought I had my life figured out. After my divorce from Derek 2 years ago because of his gambling addiction, I bought a beautiful 3-bedroom ranch-style house in the suburbs of Texas, using the inheritance my grandmother left me. My 7-year-old daughter Emma and I had finally found our peace after all the chaos Derek brought into our lives. I work as a freelance accountant, which gives me the flexibility to be home when Emma gets back from school. Our routine was simple, but perfect. Emma would do her homework at the kitchen table while I finished up client work. Then we would cook dinner together and watch her favorite cartoons before bedtime. Life was stable, predictable, and most importantly, safe. That Tuesday evening in March changed everything. Madison called me around 9 p.m. after Emma had gone to bed. I could hear Tyler crying in the background, and Madison's voice was thick with tears. "Penelope, I do not know what to do," she sobbed into the phone. "Jake kicked us out. He said he was tired of supporting another man's kid. We have nowhere to go." My heart broke listening to her. Madison had always struggled with relationships bouncing from one guy to another since high school. Tyler's father had disappeared when Tyler was 2, leaving Madison to raise him alone. She had been working as a receptionist at a dental office, but the pandemic had cost her that job 6 months earlier. "We are staying in my car tonight," she continued. "Tyler keeps asking when we're going home, but we do not have a home anymore. I know we have not been close lately, but you are the only family I have left." I remember looking around my comfortable living room, thinking about the spare bedroom that I had been using as an office. Emma had been asking for cousins to play with, and Tyler was close to her age. Maybe this could be good for both of us. Maybe we could heal the distance that had grown between Madison and me over the years. "Come stay with us," I said without thinking twice. "Just until you get back on your feet. Emma will love having Tyler around." The relief in Madison's voice was overwhelming. "Really? Oh my God, Penelope, thank you so much. I promise it will only be for a few weeks. Just until I can find another job and save up for a deposit on an apartment." The first week felt like a blessing. Madison seemed genuinely grateful, helping with dishes and cooking meals while I worked. Tyler and Emma played together in the backyard, their laughter filling the house with a warmth I had forgotten existed. Emma was thrilled to have a cousin around, and Tyler seemed to bring out her protective big sister instincts, even though he was actually a year younger. Madison would sit with me in the evenings after the kids went to bed, talking about her plans to get back on track. She had printed out resumes and was talking about applying to different offices around town. I felt proud of myself for making the right choice, for being the supportive sister I had always wanted to be. But by the second week, small things began to change. Madison started sleeping until noon while I got both kids ready for school and made their lunches. When I asked her about job applications, she would say she was waiting to hear back from places, or that she needed to update her resume again. Tyler's behavior also started to concern me. He was loud and energetic in ways that disrupted our quiet household routine. He would run through the house screaming during my client video calls, making me look unprofessional. When I gently suggested indoor voice rules, Madison would laugh it off and say, "Boys will be boys." Emma started coming to me with complaints that Tyler was breaking her toys or not letting her play with her own dollhouse. When I brought this up with Madison, she would say they were just learning to share and that Emma needed to be more patient. I pushed down my growing concerns, reminding myself that adjusting to a new living situation takes time. I told myself that Madison was going through a difficult period and needed my support, not my judgment. But deep down, I was beginning to realize that my generosity might have been taken as an invitation for something more permanent than either of us had originally discussed. By the second month, the few weeks Madison had promised stretched into an indefinite arrangement that she never acknowledged directly. When I tried to bring up timelines, she would redirect the conversation to how hard the job market was, or how grateful she felt to have family support. The financial strain was becoming impossible to ignore. My grocery bill had doubled almost overnight. Madison and Tyler ate expensive cereals and snack foods that I never bought for Emma and me. Tyler drank 3 glasses of milk at every meal and always asked for seconds and thirds at dinner. My electricity bill spiked because Madison kept the air conditioning much lower than I normally set it and left lights on throughout the house. Despite all this extra expense, Madison never offered to contribute a single dollar. When I mentioned how much the utilities had increased, she said she understood money was tight for single mothers and that she appreciated me not asking her to pay rent like her ex-boyfriend Jake had done. Tyler's behavior continued to escalate in ways that were affecting Emma's well-being. He had broken 3 of her favorite toys during tantrums when he did not get his way. He would take food from her lunchbox and eat it. Then Madison would tell me that Emma needed to learn about sharing with less fortunate family members. The school problems started in week 6. I got a call from Emma's principal saying that Tyler had pushed another child off the playground equipment during recess. Since I was listed as his emergency contact, they needed me to come pick him up immediately. When I arrived, Tyler was sitting in the office with his arms crossed, showing no remorse for hurting another child. Emma's teacher pulled me aside privately and mentioned that Emma's grades had started slipping, and she seemed more withdrawn in class. She asked if anything was happening at home that might be affecting Emma's concentration. I felt embarrassed having to explain our temporary family situation to her teacher. That evening, I tried to discuss Tyler's school behavior with Madison, suggesting maybe we needed to establish clearer rules and consequences. Madison became defensive immediately, saying that Tyler was just adjusting to a new school environment and that the other kids probably picked on him for being different. The social dynamics in my own home began to shift in ways that made me uncomfortable. Madison started inviting friends over without asking permission, treating my living room like her personal social space. She would have these friends over in the afternoons when I was trying to work, and their conversations and laughter made it impossible for me to concentrate on important client projects. One afternoon, I discovered that Madison had used money I had given her for job interview clothes to buy an expensive bottle of wine and takeout food for herself and her friends. When I confronted her about this, she said she had been feeling depressed about her job search and needed a mental health day to relax. Emma started asking me privately when Tyler and Madison were going to leave. She told me she missed having quiet time in her own house and that Tyler scared her when he got angry. These conversations broke my heart because I could see how my decision to help my sister was negatively impacting my daughter's sense of security in her own home. My freelance business began to suffer seriously. Clients complained about background noise during our video conferences. I lost an important long-term contract because Tyler had a screaming meltdown during a crucial presentation, and the client decided to work with someone who could maintain a more professional environment. Every conversation I attempted to have with Madison about house rules or boundaries was met with emotional manipulation. She would cry and talk about how hard her life had been, how she never expected her own sister to turn against her during her darkest hour. She would remind me that she had nowhere else to go, and that I was the only person in the world who cared about Tyler's well-being. I found myself walking on eggshells in my own home, afraid to address problems directly because Madison would either become defensive or break down in tears. Emma was spending more time in her bedroom with the door closed, and I realized that my attempt to help my sister was destroying the peaceful home environment I had worked so hard to create for my daughter. The breaking point was building steadily, like pressure in a pot with no release valve. I was exhausted, stressed about money, worried about Emma's emotional state, and frustrated with myself for allowing the situation to spiral so far out of control. But I still held on to hope that Madison would find a job soon and we could return to our normal lives. The weekend that changed everything started on Friday night. I had a critical client project due Monday morning that required my complete attention for several hours. This particular client represented nearly 30% of my annual income, and the project involved creating detailed financial reports for their board meeting. I had explained to Madison how important this weekend work session was and asked if she could keep Tyler occupied and quiet. Around 8 p.m., while I was deep in spreadsheet calculations, Tyler decided he wanted to use my laptop to play games. When Madison told him he could not, Tyler threw himself on the floor in the most violent tantrum I had ever witnessed. He screamed at the top of his lungs, kicking his legs and pounding his fists against my coffee table. During his meltdown, Tyler grabbed my laptop from the couch and hurled it across the room. The screen shattered completely, making an awful cracking sound as it hit the hardwood floor. 3 hours of unsaved work disappeared instantly, along with my ability to complete the project before Monday's deadline. I stood there staring at my destroyed laptop, feeling my heart pound, with a mixture of shock and fury. This laptop contained all my client files, my financial software, and represented my entire livelihood as a freelance accountant. Madison looked at the broken laptop and shrugged. "Kids will be kids," she said casually. "He did not mean to break it. He is just frustrated because he misses his old toys from our apartment." I could not believe her reaction. "Madison, that laptop is how I make my living. Tyler just destroyed thousands of dollars worth of equipment and cost me a crucial client project." "Well, maybe you should not leave expensive things where kids can reach them," she replied, acting as if Tyler's destructive behavior was somehow my fault for not childproofing my adult workspace. That night, I barely slept. Emma had witnessed Tyler's tantrum and my laptop destruction, and she was visibly shaken by the violence of his outburst. She asked me if Tyler was going to break her things too, and I realized that my daughter no longer felt safe in her own home. Saturday morning, I made coffee and sat down with Madison for what I hoped would be a calm, reasonable conversation about moving forward. I had spent the night thinking about how to approach this situation with kindness while still protecting Emma and myself. "Madison, I think we need to talk about a timeline for you and Tyler to find your own place," I began gently. "I love having you both here, but I think it would be better for everyone if you had your independence back. Maybe we could set a goal of 2 weeks to find an apartment." Madison's face immediately darkened. "Are you serious right now? After everything I have been through, you are going to kick out your own family." "I am not kicking you out," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "I am suggesting that after 2 months, it might be time to make a plan for transitioning to your own space. That seems reasonable." "Reasonable," Madison's voice was getting louder. "You got everything handed to you, Penelope. You got the inheritance money from Grandma. You got this house. You got the easy life. I have had nothing but struggles, and the one time I asked my sister for help, you want to throw me away." Emma had been eating cereal at the kitchen table, but she stopped and looked up with frightened eyes as Madison's voice escalated. I could see my daughter becoming scared, and that protective instinct kicked in immediately. "Madison, please lower your voice. Emma does not need to hear this conversation." "Oh, so now I cannot even talk in this house. You want to control everything I do and everything I say." I tried a different approach. "Look, I understand you're going through a difficult time, but I have lost an important client because of yesterday's incident. Emma's grades are suffering, and Tyler needs structure and rules that I cannot provide as his aunt. You are his mother, and you would do better in your own space where you can parent him the way you think is best." Madison stood up from the table, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. "You think you are so much better than me, do not you? You think because you have this house and your perfect little life that you can judge how I raise my son. That is not what I said at all," I replied, still trying to stay calm. "I am simply saying that after 2 months, we should make a plan for you to regain your independence." Then Madison revealed something that shocked me. "You want to know the truth? I spent that job interview money on other things because I do not actually want a job right now. Tyler and I are comfortable here, and I figured you could support us for a while since you have more money than you need anyway." I stared at her in disbelief. "You have been lying to me about job searching this entire time." "I have been taking care of my mental health and my son's emotional needs," she said defensively. "You would not understand because you only think about money and rules and perfect behavior." Emma started crying at the kitchen table, overwhelmed by the tension and raised voices. I immediately went to comfort her, but Madison was not finished. "Emma's father does not even want her around." Madison shouted, her voice filled with venom. "At least Tyler has a mother who fights for him. You and your kid are just freeloaders too. At least I admit it." The moment those words left Madison's mouth, something inside me snapped. She had crossed every possible line by attacking my daughter and bringing Derek into this situation. Emma's relationship with her father was a sensitive topic that Madison knew caused Emma pain. Without thinking, my hand flew across Madison's face in a sharp slap that echoed through the kitchen. The shock on her face was immediate, but I felt no regret. "Pack your things," I said, my voice deadly calm. "You have 2 hours to get out of my house." Madison's hand went to her cheek and suddenly she was crying. "Penelope, I did not mean it. I was just angry. Please do not do this to us. We have nowhere to go." "You crossed a line involving my daughter," I said firmly. "This ends now. 2 hours." The next 2 hours felt surreal, like watching someone else's life unfold. Madison packed frantically while Tyler cried and asked why they had to leave. I helped Emma stay in her bedroom during the chaos reading stories to distract her from the drama happening in the rest of the house. Several neighbors gathered outside when Madison started loading boxes into her car, crying loudly and talking on her phone about having nowhere to go. I felt embarrassed by the scene, but remained resolved in my decision. Emma's safety and well-being had to come first. My best friend Ashley arrived within an hour of my phone call. She had known about our family situation and had been quietly worried about me for weeks. Seeing the broken laptop, hearing about Madison's confession regarding the job search, and learning what Madison had said about Emma made Ashley furious on my behalf. "You should have done this weeks ago," Ashley said, while helping me change the locks on my doors. "That woman was using you and she was damaging Emma in the process." As Madison loaded the last of their belongings, she tried one final time to apologize and ask for another chance. "I will get a job this week, I promise. Tyler will behave better. Please do not make us homeless." But I had already made my peace with the decision. "You had 2 months to show me that you were serious about changing your situation. Instead, you admitted that you were intentionally taking advantage of my generosity. More importantly, you said cruel things about Emma that I cannot forgive." After they drove away, the house felt incredibly quiet. Emma emerged from her bedroom and asked if they were really gone for good. When I confirmed that yes, it was just the two of us again, she hugged me tighter than she had in months. That first week after Madison left, I felt a mixture of relief and guilt. Relief because Emma immediately seemed happier and more relaxed. She started sleeping through the night again, and her appetite returned to normal. Guilt because I wondered if I should have tried harder to help Madison find solutions rather than giving up on her. My professional life began to recover quickly once the house was peaceful again. I was able to replace my laptop and rebuild my client files from backups. The client who had terminated our contract was understanding about the situation and agreed to give me another chance with a smaller project. Emma's teacher noticed the positive changes immediately. Emma's grades improved, she started participating in class discussions again, and she seemed more confident during recess and group activities. I realized how much stress Emma had been absorbing during those 2 months, and I felt grateful that I had finally prioritized her emotional well-being. Madison sent several apologetic text messages over the following weeks. She had found a studio apartment across town and was staying with different relatives until she could afford the deposit. She eventually did find a part-time job at a grocery store and seemed to be taking steps toward independence. I allowed Tyler to have supervised visits with Emma when Madison was not present, usually at a park or family restaurant. Tyler seemed calmer and better behaved during these shorter interactions, and Emma enjoyed playing with him when their time together had clear boundaries and endings. Other family members had mixed reactions to my decision to evict Madison. Some cousins and aunts initially criticized me for being harsh towards someone who was struggling. But as they learned more details about Madison's behavior and her admission about lying regarding job searching, most of them came to understand my position. I consulted with a lawyer to make sure I had handled the eviction properly and learned that I had been within my rights to ask Madison to leave with reasonable notice. The lawyer assured me that Madison had no legal grounds to claim tenant rights since she had never paid rent or signed any formal agreement. 6 months later, Emma asked me a question that showed how much wisdom children possess. "Mommy, why did Aunt Madison say those mean things about Daddy not wanting me around?" I realized this was an opportunity for an important conversation about how hurt people sometimes hurt others. Sometimes when people are in pain, they say things they do not really mean because they want other people to feel pain too. It does not make it okay, but it helps us understand that her words were about her own hurt feelings, not about the truth. Emma thought about this for a moment. "So when Tyler breaks my toys, it is because he feels sad inside." "That might be part of it," I agreed. "But even when people are sad, they still need to treat others with respect and follow rules. Looking back now, I have learned that kindness without boundaries becomes self-destruction. I spent 2 months trying to help Madison while watching my daughter suffer because I was afraid of seeming selfish or unsupportive. The most loving thing I could have done for both Madison and Tyler was to maintain clear expectations and consequences from the beginning. Protecting your child's emotional safety is not negotiable, even when it means disappointing family members. Emma needed a mother who would prioritize her well-being over social expectations about family loyalty. Madison needed a sister who would support her growth rather than enabling her dependence. Family titles do not excuse toxic behavior. Being someone's sister does not mean accepting abuse, manipulation, or financial exploitation. Blood relationships create opportunities for love and support, but they also require mutual respect and healthy boundaries to survive. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is say no. By allowing Madison to stay indefinitely without expectations, I was preventing her from developing the independence and responsibility she needed to build a stable life for herself and Tyler. I have peace now in knowing that I made the right choice, even though it was incredibly difficult. Emma and I have rebuilt our sense of safety and stability. Our home is once again a place of calm and predictability, where homework gets done and bedtime stories happen without drama. Madison and I maintain occasional contact, but our relationship is cordial rather than close. She has learned to support herself and Tyler, which has actually improved her self-confidence and parenting abilities. Sometimes, distance allows people to appreciate each other in ways that proximity made impossible. Family relationships are complex, and learning to navigate them with both love and wisdom takes practice. The experience taught me that true compassion sometimes requires tough decisions, and that protecting the people who depend on you most is always the right choice. What would you have done in my situation? Have you ever had to choose between helping family and protecting your child? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and do not forget to like this video if my story resonated with you. Subscribe for more real-life experiences about family relationships and the difficult choices we sometimes have to make. Share this with someone who might need to hear that setting boundaries is not selfish, it is necessary. Thank you for listening to my story, and I hope it helps you find the courage to prioritize what matters most in your own life.